player from the Oceania region, always pretty much at the top for these past couple of years at least. And then Renzo Zambrano in Peru is able to get those top 8s for the special events, and so showcasing their talents on the online international stage here.
Love to see it. One of my favorite parts of the Players Cup too is just being able to see players who maybe haven't had an opportunity to travel to many events outside of their area make a name for themselves, like you said, on this international stage. And I'm ready to see how this game is going to shape up. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the match here and see who is able to come away with the victory and move on to the next phase of the tournament, starting things off here with that ever important coin flip.
Well, Chip, I got some good news for you. All right, you ready?
With it. Yeah, excited.
Renzo is still a Leon supporter. So there is a possibility that Leon can come into effect in a big way. So I am excited to see if it happens. But starting that Mawile GX is quite unfortunate.
Yeah, but speaking of unfortunate, this hand from James is pretty awkward and doesn't actually find another basic Pokemon. There's actually a chance here that Renzo could just win the game if we see a couple of Metal Saucers and an attachment to the Zacian V, one of the most consistent and strongest attackers in the game.
Yeah, well, finds the Crushing Hammer heads, kind of a little insult to the bad hand that James already has, gets that Cherish Ball, finds that ADP, gets the water energy on it, and a quick ball. This hand is looking insane.
Yeah, really solid hand here from Renzo. And looks like with that attachment to Arceus Dialga Palkia, we are not going to be seeing Renzo go for that turn 1 KO, which is certainly the safer play to go for, right? I think a lot of times, myself included, in this position, I would have been, you know, a little overzealous and maybe tried to dig for the turn 1 KO just to try to win a quick game 1 in this spot. But got to respect the conservative play here from Renzo.
Hey, well, there's 2 basic metal in the discard, so depending on what they get off this professor's research, it could still be a possibility here.
It definitely is still possible. Energy switches are a thing. You know, it would need to be like 2 Metal Saucer, 2 Energy Switch, and a switching card. So I'm not necessarily expecting it, but also just finding an Energy Switch would allow for that turn 1 Altered Creation still, which would be incredible to see.
I don't know. I think this is going to find a Dedenne GX, and we're going to keep the digging going. It is going to be great to see here. Does Renzo find it? Has the Energy Switch, so that guarantees the GX attack at least. And it looks like that's what Renzo is going for. Altered Creation GX turn 1. You cannot ask for any better.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. But that is a really solid top deck here from James. Does find the Bolton V, so we'll have to be a little slower here, electrifying after your opponent has already used Altered Creation. But key flip there, does hit heads on the hammer and removes the water energy from Renzo's side of the field.
Oh, but important to note, this Marnie does not find a way to get a good attacker in play to benefit from the Electrify, so this Crobat will have to hit the bench. And it does find the Electromagnetic Radar and Quick Ball, so good for James there, but having to bench the Crobat is a little awkward in the face of an Altered Creation GX.
Yeah, your opponent could pull off the boss's orders play here. It's a little hard to do, I would say, since your opponent does have the full bench already. There's already, you know, the 1 Crobat, the 1 Dedenne in play, and no other bench spaces available. But James is just going to keep it moving here. Already has the 1 Crobat in play. Says, you know what? I've already got Crobat. What's a Dedenne?
Yeah, exactly. You open the door already. You cracked it open. Now you got to just bust it the whole way through. It's going to happen. If your opponent has the boss's orders and the energy to attack with, they're pretty much going to go their same game plan every route. Especially when you can't find these big charms for the Pikachu and Zekrom GX.
Well, a solid hand here from James, and we'll see what Renzo is able to do. Actually, just going to go ahead and energy switch back to a Zacian V. So I think, oh, actually, looks like it has a kind of a weak hand here. Just going to conserve that energy and go ahead and go with the Intrepid Sword.
Yeah, and misses a Metal Energy from that Intrepid Sword, so a little awkward, kind of hedging the bets there, attaching to both of the Zacians, but not getting one off those 3 cards may put a little bit of reliance on something like a Metal Saucer or another Energy Switch next turn.
The Marnie here does find 5 new cards for James, is able to hit that air balloon, so we can see the full blitz dealing 150 damage and accelerating these energies into play, but does not find the big charm. That would have been a really important draw here for James. Does not find it, and so now your opponent has the ability to potentially pick up a one-hit KO on Pikachu and Zekrom with the Brave Blade.
Yeah, and we're going to have to see if Renzo is capable of pulling that off. Has used a couple energy switch here. Does have a switch, so switching to the Crobat, I don't know. Yeah, this is just another Intrepid Sword. Renzo not finding what he needs.
And James has the boss's orders in hand, ready to go. Could eye up the Arceus Dialga Palkia to just take the extra prizes. If you use the Speed Lightning and find a switch, though, you could actually just go ahead and boss and then use Bolt Storm to KO one of the Zacian V, potentially. Let's see. Ooh, it's an energy switch. I wonder what kind of plays this could open up.
Yeah, Chip, you didn't specify. You just said switch, so the game kind of was like energy switch? Okay.
Not quite what James was looking for there. And speaking of energy switch, there's a couple more here in this hand. Not much else to work with. I think we might just see James go with another full blitz here.
Yeah, a little unfortunate there. But granted, the full blitz is still going to be pretty good, but I don't think there's any energy left in the deck. So actually, yeah, it's going to be pretty awkward here for James.
Something James could have maybe done was attach the Speed Lightning to the active and then look for a couple of energy switch to pull off the Tag Bolt this turn to take 4, maybe even 5 prizes. But doing that is very risky. You put kind of all your eggs in one basket and make it kind of difficult to close the game out potentially. Kind of going all in on the play of having to use Raichu plus boss's orders to knock out Dedenne.
Yeah, I would have felt a lot better if the big charm was on that Pikachu and Zekrom GX to kind of stay off that turn of knockout.
We do see a Metal Saucer from Renzo here. Was Marnied, so the hand has been refreshed here. Another Metal Saucer as well. We'll see if there is a switch card here. If there is, we will see the KO. And there it is. Switch brings Zacian V to the active spot. And Brave Blade, thanks to Altered Creation, will be dealing 240 damage exactly after that Metal Resistance. Still able to pick up the KO on this tag team Pokemon for 4 prize cards.
Yeah, that means just a boss's orders and another attack would seal the game for Renzo on one of the support Pokemon on James's bench. So James will need to figure out something here. It starts with possibly just getting some hand disruption either in Reset Stamp or Marnie.
Yeah, Reset Stamp would be very powerful here indeed. We'll have to see. Oh, the big charm. 1 card too late.
You hate to see it.
Still could get some use out of it on this Raichu and Alolan Raichu, potentially. I think, you know, it's your opponent can't really pick up the one-hit KO either way. Well, I guess Renzo actually can, thanks to that Leon, so probably worthwhile to just go ahead and throw that down.
All right, now debating, do you boss's orders here take those 3 prizes that are just sitting there and discards both of the energy switch, so it'll be interesting to see what James is able to do here. Finds that Crushing Hammer.
Ooh, that's a big Tails, though. And James here has to attack with the Raichu and Alolan Raichu. Attacking with Bolton here would just lose James the game since Zacian V is already powered up and ready to go. And so it will just be the 160 damage here on Tandem Shock, picking up this KO. But Renzo can win the game on this turn. All they need is the boss's orders, and we'll be able to take the last 2 prize cards here to close it out. Is there a boss's orders here in the hand? There it is!
Well, the deck plays 4 of them, so you have to kind of expect it to come out of a hand of 6 at least most of the time. And there you have it. Renzo is able to take game 1 there for the ADP side of things.
Yeah, and I am kind of surprised how that game ended up playing out. It really seemed like James was in the favorable position early on, even after Renzo was able to pull off the turn 1 Altered Creation. Renzo just spent a couple of turns using Intrepid Sword, was not able to find any draw supporters, had used the full bench on that first turn trying to dig for the turn 1 Altered Creation, so didn't have any support Pokemon options either, so he just was forced to use Intrepid Sword, and James, unable to capitalize here, had to just you kind of look at the board state there at the end of the game, there was just so much leftover damage in play for James.
Yeah, well, it all came down to being able to switch into that Crobat V to just take a hit for a turn, and it allowed that Intrepid Sword to just build up Renzo's hand and was able to finally find those Metal Saucers and start getting those knockouts that he needed after that amazing Altered Creation turn 1.
Yeah, very impressive turn 1 from Renzo. You can tell Renzo's definitely worked on the list, made sure to build it as consistently as he could, and it paid off there, being able to pull off that turn 1 Altered Creation. I think actually the first time, at least you and I have been able to see that so far in the Players' Cup.
Yeah, it's going to be great to see if Renzo's going to be able to pull it off yet again in Game 2, but James is going to have a lot to say about that, especially if Crushing Hammer is better for them this game.
Crushing Hammer definitely could be the name of the game here for James. We're going to go ahead and take a look at game number 2 and see who can come away as the winner. Will James be able to fight back into a game 2 and possibly force the game 3? Or will Renzo win this game, defeating James 2-0 to move on to the losers semifinals?
Listen, I want Leon to be played this game, so I am hoping it comes into effect, but I just want a good game between both of these decks because these are the two best decks right now in the format we have.
And it looks like we will just go ahead and see James choose to go first here, which I think in this matchup, when you know your opponent doesn't play Crushing Hammer, does make sense. You make it much easier for yourself to pull off the turn 2 full blitz whenever you're going first. But by choosing to let the Arceus Dialga Palkia player go second, you do leave that door open, like we saw in Game 1, for the turn 1 Altered Creation.
Yeah, well, it is important to note that Renzo also does play 4 copies of Crushing Hammer, so it's really just trying to get that attack off first and hoping your opponent stumbles a little bit and does not get a repeat of that Altered Creation GX turn 1.
And we'll see the Chaotic Swell come down into play. Not super consequential here. Renzo actually only playing the Chaotic Swell as his only stadium as well, so just going to be that one Chaotic Swell in play for the remainder of the game.
Oh, no!
It's just attach and pass.
And I think this might do it. Depending on, no basic lightning to discard here for the Tapu Koko, but quite a few chances at it with Crobat V and Dead AGX.
Yeah, could still make it happen here indeed. Definitely possible on James's side of things. Has the switch as well to switch into the Tapu Koko V, so you already have that pivot ready to go. Oh no, just has the intermittent discard already. That's going to be the game. Going to just be able to retreat, and an instant game 2 it seems, and James is able to force the game 3 here.
Yeah, well, there you have it. The surprise power of your opponent not drawing any other Pokemon, and Pikachu and Zekrom pretty consistently attacks on turn 2. So when you're able to do that and take the game just as easy as that, you need to prepare for a game 3 right away.
And we've seen some clunky draws from Arceus Dialga Palkia in this tournament so far. We saw it a couple of times from Christian earlier on in this event, where they just opened up a support Pokemon and a ton of energies and energy switches. I mean, these cards are important for your deck, but drawing them all early on at the same time leads to unplayable hands, and also unfortunate situations like that one where your DNAGX just gets knocked out on turn 2.
Yeah, well, you have to think about it. These decks are playing 4 Crushing Hammers and a bunch of supporters that you can't really play early on. And then you have just stuff like energy spinners in your deck. It really adds a lot to it where, I have these hands, I can't really do much. We'll have to see how game 3 turns out as we are ready to go down to it now.
Yeah, game 3, I'm excited to see how it will play out. Hopefully a little better of a game than that game number 2 was. Game number 1 was a great example of an awesome game, so hopefully we'll see something more like that here.
All right, well, we got a mulligan from James, trying to find a good basic Pokemon for them. Does find that Pikachu and Zekrom GX, so pretty good starter here. Not the best, but no energy or real supporters in the hand, though, for James.
And something of note here, Renzo got to choose first or second here and actually chose to go second. So it looks like Renzo is kind of feeling himself in this spot, wants to pull off that turn 1 Altered Creation.
And the good old reset stamp to just shuffle your hand in and draw the same number of cards. James trying to thin his hand down enough to make this Crobat V actually useful. And useful it is.
Definitely finds the electromagnetic radar, also finds the quick ball here. And actually, since your opponent started this Mawile GX, you could go ahead and radar and get the Dedenne for the next turn potentially, so you can hold on to this crushing hammer to play on whatever energy your opponent puts in play.
Yeah, and I like using the quick ball just to discard that one lightning, and you have the rest of the cards in your hand to kind of reserve.
Solid spot for sure. We might even just see James hold the other cards in the hand and just attach the lightning energy to Pikachu Zekrom.
Yeah.
I think that's a fine spot here. You can just electromagnetic radar away the boss's orders plus whatever the top deck is and still play the crushing hammer next turn.
All right. Well, does Renzo have a hand here? Plays down the big namesake tag team Pokemon of the deck, Arceus, Dialga, Palkia GX, and has a Professor's Research. So the hand was not too well for Renzo there. Just a bunch of supporters, and does find the water, has a quick ball to go with it, but do they have everything else to get a turn 1 off?
Needs to find the energy to discard, needs to find the metal saucer, needs to find the energy switch. So there's definitely a lot of things that Renzo still needs to draw into, but the turn is definitely not over here. We do see a Cherish Ball could eye up a Dedenne GX to keep things moving, and looks like that will be what Renzo grabs. I wonder if they're trying to piece together this turn 1 Altered Creation.
Well, important to note, there is a metal being discarded with the Dedenne change, so Metal Saucer, Switch Effect, and Energy Switch will allow the turn 1, but no, Intrepid Sword will end the turn here for Renzo.
Also, Renzo did discard a water energy that turn as well, so the Crushing Hammer on James's side could be pretty brutal here, and James does already have the energy and discard for the Dance of the Ancients, just needs to find a switch card to move the Pikachu Zekrom from the active, and is also able to hit heads there on that hammer, really limiting Renzo's options.
Yeah, that is huge. Renzo only playing 3 water, and I misspoke earlier. Renzo's the only ADP player to not play Energy Spinner, opting for the Crushing Hammer in the deck instead, so it's even harder for him to actually find those water energies.
We'll see what James finds off of Dedenne change. Needs to hit a switch card, is able to find it, and also finds more Crushing Hammers. I wonder if you actually just hold the hammers here and try to just discard more energies. This is an open deck list tournament, so James should know that Renzo only has 1 more water energy.
Yeah, I think you just go ahead and switch Boss's Orders up that tag team Pokemon and get the Full Blitz off for that 2-hit and charge up the Raichu on the bench, and James is pretty much sitting pretty here.
Yeah, James in a really good spot here. Renzo kind of in a really bad spot, unfortunately, and James just hits another heads here. Seems like these hammers have been automatic for James in these Arceus, Dialga, Palkia matchups.
Yeah, and you actually could just attach the lightning to the active Pikachu and Zekrom GX if James wants to go for a Tag Bolt here. And yeah, we're gonna see a powered up Pikachu and Zekrom GX in James's active spot.
Going in, James is here by just getting all those energies on the active. Renzo responds right away with a Crushing Hammer, trying to slow things down. And it's going to be tough for Renzo to really piece together much of anything in this spot. Finds the Metal Saucer to get the energy in play. We also see Cherish Ball here. Could just get another Dedenne GX, but actually is going to fail it.
Yeah, either it's in the prizes or already in hand and was just playing it to thin out the deck and the hand, but this is some dire circumstances for Renzo here, facing down a possible Tag Bolt GX for 5 prizes next turn.
I mean, we have to consider, though, if James does go all in on this play, I mean, all of your energies are on just 1 Pokemon, so things could be a little, risky at that point. And actually, Renzo here plays the Great Catcher, trying to maybe slow James down a little bit in this spot.
Yeah, eyeing down
some time.
Maybe the other tag team Pokemon on the bench in Pikachu and Zekrom GX with just the Air Balloon having only 1 retreat, but brings up the Raichu and Alolan Raichu, has the water, so really going for the Altered Creation GX yet again here, needing to find Energy Switch to actually pull it off.
Oh, and a Crushing Hammer. This could be a big flip here for Renzo. Does hit the heads and is just going to remove the energy from Pikachu and Zekrom, making it very difficult to pull off a Tag Bolt. And we actually see Renzo does miss on the energy switch. So if James can hit heads on this Crushing Hammer, he can discard the last water, but actually is going to choose to discard a metal from the bench.
Well, you're going to be possibly taking the knockout here, and with that, Professor's research does find the switch to be able to bring forth that Pikachu and Zekrom GX and Full Blitz to get rid of the water anyway. So a little bit risky, but having that draw supporter to draw 7 cards, you kind of have to just expect it and go for it.
And James was able to find it. One thing I would worry about a little bit at this point is that James is down a lot of energy and could find himself in a spot where is maybe out of energies to attack with. I'm not sure. Maybe there could be a couple of energy cards in the prizes here.
No,
none. Take any there.
Yeah, no energy. Only having the 2 energy switch in hand to kind of maneuver around his board. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to pull it together. But you do not have to worry about Altered Creation GX anymore. So could be big point here.
And we do see a Crushing Hammer does hit heads. Now, I mean, if Renzo wants to pick up a one-hit KO on Pikachu and Zekrom, it is still possible, of course, playing that one copy of Leon, but I believe it has already hit the discard pile, so bringing it back would have to be via an Eldegoss.
Well, the Marnie being played this turn means my dream is still just a dream for right now, and gives James quite a good hand here for being 4 cards.
Solid indeed, and it's just going to have to be the Brave Blade, dealing 210 damage, not quite enough. James does find one of the last remaining energy cards in the deck here in that Speed Lightning Energy. Also finding a switch here, so could see the Tandem Shock to slow things down a little bit.
Yeah, definitely an option to take here, especially considering just how low James is in energy for the game.
Resources definitely running a little thin, and I think James here taking maybe a look at the deck list for Renzo, wanting to check things out, kind of just trying to figure out how to navigate this hand, and is actually going to go ahead and discard this switch, maybe just going with the Full Blitz and letting the active Pikachu and Zekrom get KO'd.
Yeah, this is a little bit worrisome, though, just because looking at the deck, there's not many options going forward. Especially because with Raichu and Alolan Raichu being one of your only attackers left in the game, something like a switch is probably one of the best cards you can draw just to reset that Tandem Shock.
Certainly is the case. And also, you're not getting any extra value from Full Blitz. We know there's no more basic energy in the deck. And actually, it looks like James could be eyeing up a Boss's Orders here. Might be wanting to put some damage down onto something else. Maybe depending on how many switch cards Renzo has played, this could be a good decision.
So I can't remember if James already played an energy for the turn, but does have the option, if he didn't, to Boss's Orders up one of the GX Pokemon and go for the last Speed Lightning and 2 energy switch in the deck.
Yeah, I do believe James had played that Speed Lightning down already on the Raichu, and so it's just going to actually be the Tag Bolt on the Crobat here. Ooh. And there are a couple energies in the prizes, and I think James is kind of all in on this one specific play of a next turn, being able to Boss's Orders up the Dene GX and KO it with Tandem Shock.
And we're going to have to see if James is able to pull it together, but Renzo discards their hand down to 0, gets that Crobat V, draws pretty much half of the deck left, and Brave Blades for the knockout goes down to 3 prizes and will take a little bit of time to try and get this game going forward. It has to dodge that Boss's Orders, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, and this is going to be it. James can win the game here with a Boss's Orders. Is James able to find it? Top deck of an Air Balloon gives you that pivot with the Dene GX. Of course, attaching in energy would have done the same thing anyway. And here it is, off of Dene Change. Is there a Boss's Orders?
No,
it does not find one.
A ton of supporters that were still left in the deck for James. and we see just a Marnie and still no boss's orders. Man, the top of the deck was not fruitful for James there.
Not at all. Does find a Crushing Hammer, but unfortunately flips tails here. And now on Renzo's side of things, I mean, you're not in risk of just losing the game right away, right? Because your opponent didn't use Altered Creation this game, so you still have a couple of turns as James, but it makes me also wonder how many boss's orders are left in the deck.
Yeah, well, it is up to Renzo to get this out of the active, and with the switch, we'll be able to, so... But this puts a lot of pressure on James to actually find something off the top of the deck this turn, because having the Raichu in the active means something like a switch is needed to reset that Tandem Shock. And with the Marnie as the only card in hand to actually do something, is this where we're going to see all the boss's orders? Oh, nothing.
I don't see them there. Maybe James is actually out of boss's orders. That could be the case here. Does have the Speed Lightning to draw a couple of cards, and I don't believe the deck has been randomized since the Marnie last turn, so should have access to all of the cards available to James here over the course of these past 2 turns with Speed Lightning here, if James plays it down. Now, if James had played the basic Lightning to the active... Oh, no, it actually already has used Lightning Ride GX, so that wouldn't... Or has already used Tag Bolt GX, so would not be able to use Lightning Ride this turn. I was thinking maybe there was a play there.
Well, finds the switch off of the Speed Lightning, so we'll be able to reset Tandem Shock if he chooses to, but was really hoping to find that Eldegoss V that was in the deck. That was the only out for boss's orders that James had, and had so many outs with it in the form of Quick Ball and the Eldegoss itself.
Does not get there, and I think James's only play here is going to be to switch into Dedenne. And I mean, do you full blitz here? Do you paralyze your opponent? It's kind of I mean, if you paralyze your opponent, they just win with a switch. If you full blitz your opponent, they win with a boss's orders. Oh, it's just gonna be a pass, actually.
Yeah, I don't know if I like the pass there, but either way, a boss's orders will seal the game up for Renzo here. The Quick Ball, is Eldegoss V an option for Renzo? Not Eldegoss V, but Aegislash V. I don't know if it'll be much use here, but it's great to see at least a new card show up on screen.
Yeah, kind of a cool tech. It's really in the deck for that Sonic Edge attack in order to be able to hit into things like Altaria from the Champion's Path expansion, but not relevant here. And it's actually just going to be Renzo using Intrepid Sword. So James was able to buy themselves a turn here, but I also think here, if Renzo has checked the discard pile, maybe is aware that all of James's boss are in the discard pile, the only way to get the card back would be via Eldegoss V. You don't want to pick up a KO here and open up a bench spot for your opponent.
No, yeah, that's very heads up thinking, and Renzo just trying to guarantee the game with finding a boss's orders off Intrepid Sword. So it's all James's decision now of what they choose to attack with, and it is gonna be the Tandem Shock. So now just a switch will seal the game up and keep Renzo's hope alive in the tournament here, and there it is.
Switch is played here, and that will be the game. Renzo able to pick up this KO, take the remaining 3 prizes, and Renzo here showing, hey, you don't no Altered Creation, no problem, still able to pick up the game, winning a game 3 here and moving on to the next stage. Well played to James for sure. We got to watch a lot of James's games throughout this tournament. He played very, very well, flipped a lot of heads on Crushing Hammer, but just was not quite able to get it done in this last game.
Renzo is showing that ADP is still considered one of the best in the format, finally breaking through the wall that has been Pikachu and Zekrom GX that we have seen about the past 2 days.
Yeah, and Pikachu and Zekrom, I mean, hey, if you want to do well in a tournament, it seems like getting a game casted by us when you're playing Pikachu and Zekrom is the way to do it. Except in this last one, Zach is Renzo able to close it out and move on to this next game here, where he'll actually be playing up against Zach Lesage, who we saw earlier on today. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick look at the bracket here as we move into this game. It is going to be the losers semis here. Zach Lesage going up against Renzo Zambrano.
Yeah, I believe the winner of this game gets that trip for a future international championship. So it'll be interesting to see who actually comes out on top. Renzo just got done playing this matchup, but Zach has the unique choice of 2 Mewtwo and Mew GX in the deck for this matchup specifically too.
And we've seen Mewtwo and Mew be a key card for these Pikachu Zekrom players that were choosing to play it. Of course, Zach and Francesco, who we watched their games today and yesterday. Very key card for Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia specifically. We'll see how Zach is able to utilize it. Let's go ahead and take a look as well at these players' accomplishments. We've talked about both of these guys already, but, you know, very solid players in their own right. I mean, kind of 2 different stories here. Zach Lesage, an already extremely accomplished player on the international stage. We see a top 8 at LAIC in 2018. We see the finalist finish at Oceania Internationals in 2020. And Renzo here, a couple of top 8s at special events in Peru. So really having an opportunity here on an international stage, thanks to this online event, to make a name for himself.
Yeah, and I honestly, his name will be forever remembered if he's able to pull off a Leon play. I'm still waiting for it, Renzo. You need to do it for me, but it is going to be great to see, and I want to figure out what's going to be the best deck of this format. And right now, it's been looking like Pikachu and Zekrom GX has pulled ahead, so we'll have to see if ADP is able to overcome this Lightning Tag Team Pokemon yet again.
Hey, Renzo was able to do it in that last game versus James. We're going to go ahead and get down to the game board here and see if Renzo can pull off a similar game here versus Zach Lesage. Coming down here at the beginning to the ever important coin flip here. Some good sportsmanship going on as well. Always love to see things like that.
All right. Well, this game has started, and a mulligan from Zach. Thankfully, I think so, because that hand wouldn't have been too good.
Yeah, a little awkward there if you find a basic Pokemon, especially depending on what the basic is. But Zach going second here is going to just go ahead and start that Bolton V. Super ideal, exactly what you want to see.
Yeah, that's how we wrote it up, and that's how Zach is moving forward. Just needs to find an energy and possibly some Pokemon to attach those energy to off Electrify.
And we'll see what the opening hand looks like for Renzo. Is Renzo able to get an energy attachment to Arceus, Dialga, Palkia? And maybe more crucially, is that energy able to stick in play thanks to Zach's crushing hammers? Ooh, just an Intrepid Sword, though.
All right, and no energy off the Intrepid Sword either, so it could mean trouble for Renzo here, especially with a turn 2 Marnie. So essentially doing nothing for the turn other than that air balloon. And Zach needs to find a lightning here, but if he does, is in good position, and that's looking like a good hand.
A great spot indeed for Zach. Has the lightning energy. Also has a quick ball, so could accelerate the energy to something like the Mewtwo and Mew. We could even see him go for a Dedenne to try to draw more cards, potentially, because the hand, you know, as it is, isn't the best necessarily. I mean, it actually is kind of a little awkward, because if you just get something to accelerate energies to, you're kind of relying on your top deck in order to draw out of this, but putting the Dedenne GX in play against Arceus, Dialga, Palkia, if you don't have to, is definitely risky.
Yeah, and again, Zach just counting the prizes, making sure to note everything. There's only one energy switch in the deck, so out of the 2, has access to just the 1.
Yep, we'll see this from all the great players in the game. We've seen it all tournament long. These guys really checking their prize cards very closely, you know, especially with so much on the line here. A spot in the losers semifinal, or excuse me, the losers finals for winning this game, and also awarding yourself a future travel award to an international championship if you're able to get the win here.
All right, and finds that Crobat V, so draws into the cards and is able to keep that Crushing Hammer in hand. The ever important Crushing Hammer in this matchup specifically as well.
and finds another one to work with as well. Is unable to find a Pikachu in Zekrom, which I think is really what Zach was looking for. Either the Pikachu Zekrom or the Mewtwo and Mew tag team. So just has to settle for the Electrify 2 Raichu and Alolan Raichu, but still a solid spot, especially considering your opponent did not do very much and you've marnied them to just a 4-card hand.
All right, well, this 4-card hand starts off with a switch to the Arceus Dialga Palkia GX just to get a card out of the hand for this Crobat V, trying to find the energy needed for an Altered Creation GX this turn. But another switch, I don't know if this is going to be what Renzo is wanting to see here.
Still has the research and does discard a Metal Energy, actually. Unfortunately, discards an Energy Switch as well, but it is definitely still possible to see this Altered Creation come out. We see the Water Energy. If Renzo is able to find the Metal Saucer plus the Energy Switch, it could still happen. There's the Metal Saucer. Is that Energy Switch in the hand here?
2 Metal Saucers.
Plenty of energy to boot, and I mean, Renzo also could just continue to draw as well with something like the Dedenne GX, and is actually going to go ahead and play a Great Catcher, and there is the Dedenne coming down.
All right, so let's keep it moving. 2 energy switch left in the deck, but no more draw outs, at least for the time being for Renzo here. So needs to have it in hand, otherwise could be blown out by these Crushing Hammers.
Definitely a sketchy spot to be in as Renzo, seeing Zach's hand at least, knowing that the 2 Crushing Hammers are just awaiting an opportunity. Renzo unable to continue to draw, has already used a Crobat this turn. Of course, you can only use 1 Dark Asset ability a turn. Has already used Dead Change, can only use 1 of those a turn as well. And just actually grabs the, I believe it was the Eldegoss there off of the Quick Ball, maybe saving that for the next turn, and just has to go with the Intrepid Sword.
Yeah, and just the absence of Altered Creation GX this early just lends such an advantage to Zach here, especially with these 2 Crushing Hammers. If one of them is heads, it will put Zach ahead so much, and even with the switch, we're able to get a good amount of damage thanks to Bolt Storm off if he chooses to.
And hey, pretty good top deck as well. Finds the Professor's Research in order to make moves this turn as well. Can even discard an extra Lightning Energy so you get the full effect out of Dance of the Ancients. And does hit heads on that first hammer, getting rid of the water. And does unfortunately tails on the second. But you got rid of the main thing you were worried about there.
Yeah, you just wanted to hit one of those in the first place anyway. So the fact that the first one hit, the second one was just extra. You're going to play it anyway with this Professor's Research.
And Zach actually has no energies in the discard pile yet, so choosing to just go ahead and play the Research is a little risky. You run the risk of not drawing into an energy card, but as we see, ends up paying off just fine. Zach finds plenty of energies to work with, and we could see a Tandem Shock come out here onto the Arceus Dialga Palkia.
Yeah, even counting up how much damage he can actually do thanks to Dance of the Ancients as well. So I believe ending the turn with the possibility of 6 energy in play.
Looks like might just save the Dance of the Ancients. I mean, we've seen Tag Bolt be a very common way for Zach to close his games out. So Tapu Koko Prism Star is normally a really key part to that play, being able to build up that extra energy or 2 out of nowhere. So looks like Zach is going to just hold off for now, use that Tandem Shock to slow Renzo down. Renzo now needs a ton of cards if he wants to pull off the GX attack this turn.
Yeah, it is gonna have to be pretty impressive. First of all, switch, and then having the Zacian with the Air Balloon to pivot is pretty nice, but Water Energy being kind of just the resource for Renzo and not being able to have cards like Energy Spinner to be able to find it, it puts even more of a damper on him with these Crushing Hammer heads.
Does get the energy attachment down to Zacian, so might not even be seeing a an Altered Creation here, and maybe not even at all this game. It is just going to have to be the boss's orders onto Tapu Koko and an Intrepid Sword. Renzo definitely on the back foot here in this position.
Yeah, Zach is just taking this time to get everything he needs finally finds the Pikachu and Zekrom GX, and could we possibly see it attack this turn as well? Does actually discard it, possibly getting the Mewtwo.
Yeah, we might not see a Pikachu and Zekrom attack, but we still could see a full blitz here for sure. Zach would need to find a switch off of the Dedenne to make that happen, because you cannot use the Dance of the Ancients ability while Tapu Koko Prism Star is in the active spot, but it's certainly still a play we could see.
All right, well, chooses to attach for the turn to that Mewtwo and Mew GX, and has the energy switch to switch it off the Boltund V, so this will be a pretty big Dedenne. Has the air balloon for the active, but will need to actually have that switch to utilize Dance of the Ancients to its full effect. Does not find it, but finds a Professor's Research, but a ton of energy in hand as well, so I don't know if you want to discard those to try to get it.
And I think Zach already has 4 basic lightning in the discard pile, so discarding a total of 7 energies here before you really even take a knockout feels a little risky, so I think we'll just see Zach hold off on that for now. Just use the Dance of the Ancients here, get that Mewtwo and Mew totally powered up, and can still pick up this KO here with Tandem Shock, or even Lightning Ride if he wanted to, but we've seen Zach utilize Tag Bolt too many times for me to think that he would use Lightning Ride in this spot.
Yeah, and the fact that Raichu is just a tank and will not get knocked out by the Zacian V, especially without the Altered Creation damage boost. So I like leaving it in the active, saving your GX attack for essentially just the game in the next couple of turns.
And we see Renzo in kind of a similar spot to that last game we watched versus James, where Renzo does not have the ability to use Altered Creation, has not used Altered Creation this game, probably will never have an opportunity to use it, and Renzo was able to close that last game out. We'll see if Renzo can work his magic once again here. Pretty good start, getting a 2 energy Zacian ready to go on the bench, and also picking up the KO with Brave Blade on this Boltund.
Yeah, it is going to require just quite a few turns of boss's orders, one after another, but with the Zacian in the active having the air balloon, it does give it kind of a free pivot from Brave Blade. So at least if he has to attack the game this way, he's set up in a position where he can. But Zach, with that Mewtwo with 4 energy and a Marnie threatening to come down, could take control of the game from his end.
I mean, Zach could technically win the game on this turn. It would be really risky and kind of unnecessary, honestly, if you just go boss's orders up the Crobat and then Dedenne look for the double energy switch. You could pull off the game with the Tag Bolts, but this is definitely the safer play here. Just use the Marnie, disrupt your opponent's hand, go with the full blitz, and you can power up this active Mewtwo and Mew, and you know this has no way of being KO'd. Renzo does play the Leon, but since there was no Altered Creation, is not going to have quite enough damage to hit for enough to knock out this 270 HP tag team Pokemon.
Yeah, and it looked like Zach was actually out of the 2 energy switch left in the deck, so this was the only play really for him, but it's still such a strong play and very scary if you have to be sitting in Renzo's seat.
Yeah, and I mean, Tag Bolt's basically inevitable at this point as Zach. So how does Renzo navigate this spot? I think Crushing Hammer seems like a good start. I'm not sure how many Renzo is down. Let's see if we can get a look here. Nope, not quite. Didn't see any in the discard, so there might actually just be the full 4 available still.
Yeah, could even see something like a boss's orders to maybe bring up a Pokemon and take the knockout if it's available for Renzo, because remember, he still needs to take 2 knockouts in a row to really take the game. So this Professor's Research kind of just conceding that fact and needs to find these Crushing Hammers.
There's the first one. Ooh, is a Tails. Is there another one here for Renzo? Renzo's not going to be able to pick up a KO here since has already played a supporter and Great Catcher already in the discard pile. And yeah, that is just going to be GG's here for Zach. Tag Bolt GX will pick up the 4 prize KO, taking the remaining prizes Zach needs. And Zach wins game 1 here in the loser's semis. And we're going on to game number 2. Renzo definitely at a deficit right away. And we'll see what Renzo's able to do in game number 2.
Yeah, well, Crushing Hammer was able to do it again, discarding the water energy, and that just led to Altered Creation GX being a moot point for the entire game. And Zach was basically able just to control the pace of the game himself, and with the Mewtwo is able to pull it out at the end.
And we've seen that Mewtwo just be so good in this matchup all tournament long, and kind of the secret tech, I guess, in the Pikachu Zekrom decks for this tournament. That's not really a card we've seen a lot of people playing in their straightforward Pikachu Zekrom lists up to this point. There's, you know, the kind of different version of Pikachu Zekrom that plays the Aurora energies and all those other GX attackers for Mewtwo to copy. But this is just kind of the traditional Pikachu Zekrom with that tech 1 or 2 of Mewtwo and Mew GX, and it's worked out great for these players so far.
Yeah, well, Zach's basically just used it as a secondary attacker, but it's a more versatile attacker just because it combines the best of both worlds that you have in the ability to use Tandem Shock as well as Full Blitz and Tag Bolt. So we've seen him close out games time and time again, and will he be able to close out another one and punch his ticket into the losers finals?
Yep, and this game is an opportunity for Zach to do it. We're going to go ahead and get down to the match. This is going to be game number 2. And we did see in Renzo's last game against James Cox, did choose to go second in this position. So let's see what Renzo chooses here. We know that he likes going for that turn 1 Altered Creation, and it looks like that is indeed the case. Renzo choosing second, wants to try to pull off that turn 1 GX attack.
Yeah, and Zach starting a Crobat V, so already on the back foot here for game 2, but does have a Quick Ball to kind of bail out this hand a little bit, and has a Speed Lightning to go with it to try to draw even more cards.
Yeah, super solid draw there. Is able to get down one of these Lightning type GX or even V Pokemon here. I would expect to see the Pikachu and Zekrom, but you know, I could understand wanting to go with the Bolton V right away. And of course, Speed Lightning Energy, honestly, just one of my favorite cards that's come out in the past few recent sets, because it's just, I mean, there's really no downside to playing it. You can't accelerate it with Full Blitz, but it's just when you attach your energy for turn, you get 2 free cards.
Yeah, who doesn't love free cards? So whenever you get to do that just for actually doing the thing you need to do and actually attack for the game, it has allowed lightning types to just stay relevant, and I believe it's the sole reason that Pikachu and Zekrom's still around today. That, and along with Bolton V.
Bolton V, definitely a big part of that, and that is a pretty good 2 cards to draw here for Zach to work with on the next turn. Quick Ball can get any of these other basic Pokemon out of Zach's deck, and then also has the Lightning Energy, the ability to discard that for Tapu Koko potentially, or just get the attachment for turn. Very solid.
All right, well, Renzo chose to go second, and he will need to put together quite a turn here to have that turn 1 Altered Creation GX yet again. Will he have it? Has the Dedenne GX to discard quite a few cards. I believe I saw an energy switch from there, but nothing too important. I think Aegislash-V and Chaotic Swell to go along with it.
Yeah, the Aegislash-V, very cool card to play in the deck, but not a relevant one in this matchup.
Oh,
it's actually two energy switched. That makes it pretty tough to pull off the turn 1 GX attack. And since Renzo has gone ahead and attached the Metal Energy, I think Renzo has accepted that there will not be a turn 1 Altered Creation here.
Yeah, and with the Marnie, it does get rid of the Switch and Quick Ball that Zach was able to pick up off the Speed Lightning Energy, but does net him a Professor's Research, so at least we'll be able to continue the turn for next turn. But Renzo, I think, is just going to be left with an Intrepid Sword.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not the worst spot to be in. You still get that extra 3 cards drawn and, you know, put yourself in a decent spot moving forward. But it kind of, for Zach, is going to come down to, is he able to find these Crushing Hammers, and is he able to flip heads? And I think also getting down the Big Charm on Arceus Dialga Palkia is a pretty big deal, too. You make it so your opponent can't just full blitz 2 times into this Pokemon. You force them to throw in a Tandem Shock in there, or maybe a Bolt Storm to pick up that 2-hit KO.
Pretty big deal. Get it? Big Charm. Big deal.
Big Charm, big deal, yeah. I see why they picked you for this, Jeremy.
Yeah. This Quick Ball is finding nothing because the Crobat V is already in hand. So a fresh 5 cards, but no turn 1 Altered Creation GX is really possible. So just an Intrepid Sword. Does he find any Metal Energies off it? Just one.
Does hit the one. Pretty solid to do that. And Zach here, pretty solid hand to work with. Has a reset stamp, can lower that hand size, has the research to draw some cards, and can also just go ahead and get the attachment to Pikachu and Zekrom, or even discard this lightning energy to use later with Dance of the Ancients.
All right. Well, reset stamp gets rid of the Intrepid Sword, extra cards that Renzo just got. And Zach debated attaching to the active. If he didn't find a switch, it probably was the better option. But switch is off the top of these 7 cards and has a couple Pokemon to actually choose to charge up with the Electrify.
Yeah, and Zach actually does there choose to go ahead and discard the Pikachu and Zekrom, which is actually what you really want to do here in this matchup. That's a Pokemon that can be an easy 4-prize, 1-hit KO for a Zacian V later on in the game. So by discarding it, you can still utilize those attacks with the Mewtwo and Mew tag team, but you also don't run the risk of that just being 1-hit KO'd later on down the road.
All right, and with this turn, Zach will be able to Electrify, most likely charging up that Mewtwo and Mew, and looking pretty good in the face of a possible Altered Creation GX next turn from Renzo.
Solid spot indeed. With charging up the Mewtwo, you have the option to go for either Tandem Shock, Full Blitz. You know, you have so many options. And Zach also does go ahead and bench the Raichu and Alolan Raichu. Wants to be able to play around a potential Marnie here. And Renzo actually just ignoring Altered Creation once again here, it looks like. Just going to take this KO with the Brave Blade and kind of put the pressure onto Zach in this spot.
Yeah, well, Altered Creation GX is not that good in the face of a fully powered Mewtwo and Mew GX, especially with the threat of Tag Bolt GX coming down as soon as next turn. So I kind of like Renzo going for it here. Gets rid of that Boltund V. It's another big attacker later on in the game. And having to use the last energy switch means I think we will never see Altered Creation GX for this game. It will be an uphill battle to get more Zacian V charged up, though.
Yeah, certainly the case. And that also could just be the only play Renzo had available to him based on the hand that he had. There might not have been any draw cards. Definitely is possible. But, you know, Zach is still in an excellent spot here. Overall, I would say this Mewtwo and Mew is never getting KO'd, and you can just accelerate extra energies to it even if you wanted to.
Yeah, well, there we see the Full Blitz, but does he choose to attach it to the active or to the benched Raichu to kind of diversify a little bit?
Yeah, I like this, spreading the energy around. No reason to go all in on this Mewtwo right away. You also still have not used the Tapu Koko Prism Star, so you still have that option to load extra energies up, even if you don't have that many left in the deck.
Oh no, we see the water energy finally come down on the Arceus Dog Palkia GX on the bench. A little too late, but here we see a Dedenne GX trying to draw into something here, and the switch, importantly, does reset the Brave Blade.
Yeah, definitely a decent spot for Renzo. I mean, it's something that could happen here. You have to attack 3 times to win the game in this spot regardless. So what Renzo actually could do here is Brave Blade this turn, Altered Creation next turn, and then just knock out this heavily damaged Mewtwo and Mew for the remaining 4 prizes. So honestly, we could still possibly see that Altered Creation come out. It's going to be on Zach here. Can Zach pick up this KO? And then I think it has to be finding the Tag Bolt on the next turn.
Yeah, well, there we see the switch to the pivot Pokemon of Crobat V with an air balloon attached. So even something like a Tapu Koko Prism Star will help get some more energies in play. But this is a little bit awkward. Does have the Dedenne GX to try to draw into it.
And also finds a couple Crushing Hammers. These could be some big flips to slow Renzo down. And actually in this spot, I wonder what energy you want to get rid of here. Let's see, only 1 Metal Saucer in the discard pile. I don't know, it's kind of close. If you only flip 1 heads, and actually just on the first hammer especially, if you flip heads here, which energy do you get rid of?
Yeah, well, all 3 energy switch are in the discard for Renzo, so it's actually very hard for ADP to actually pull off an Ultimate Ray, but you want to try to stay away from that Altered Creation GX, so getting that water off right away, I kind of like that play, just because your Mewtwo is basically the thing that Renzo is trying to eye down and knock out.
Yeah, I think that play makes perfect sense, based on what we were talking about earlier of, if Renzo can alter creation this coming turn, that Arceus Dialga Palkia is not getting KO'd in one spot, in one hit. So you then have the ability to just knock out this Mewtwo that already has 230 damage on it for the game. So taking away that water energy just removes that play completely from Renzo's arsenal and also makes it so that, since there's no energy switch, that Alter Creation is not coming out here.
All right. Well, Zach is choosing to attack with the active Mewtwo and Mew as of right now, but does have the Dedenne GX to maybe try to draw stuff, but opts for possibly, okay, full Blitz, but I don't know if there's any energy left in the deck. Probably just the most amount of damage you can do at this point.
Yeah, I think no energies left in the deck. I think a couple prized here, it looks like, for Zach is going to go ahead and take the Research and the Eldegoss. Pretty solid cards to work with on the next turn.
Yeah, that does open up possible Boss's Order plays, but still needing quite a few energies to get a Tag Bolt off for game.
And I mean, it's kind of an awkward spot here for Zach. And also Renzo here does just send up this Arceus Dialga Palkia. And we see the first Metal Saucer come out. If Renzo has a switch card, we can see this Zacian V just attack. And it's going to be an Eldegoss V, probably just to get a Research, drawing a full 7 cards here. Renzo needs to find a switch.
Has only used one this game, so it's a good chance they found it. He does hit Crushing Hammer Heads yet again.
Does hit a Heads, and also is going to go ahead and get rid of an energy off of this Raichu and Alolan Raichu, but with the switch card, just has to Intrepid Sword for the turn.
That is insane. Playing 4 switch in the deck, only having played 1, there has to be some shenanigans going on. Maybe they are hiding out in the prize cards, but Zach has the Quick Ball for the Tapu Koko and plays it down and opts for the Dedenne GX. Finds a Boss's Orders and a switch, but I don't know if he found another energy or energy switch.
Yeah, so close to being able to close out the game here with a Tag Bolt. So close, but just not quite enough pieces to make it happen. It did draw that Team Yell Grunt. I don't think that's going to be super useful here.
Is there any route to actually just Lightning Ride GX the Zacian that is fully charged up? That
actually seems pretty good.
No
here.
Energy in play.
Gets rid of all of those energies in play, and also Renzo's down a lot of Metal Saucers. You've gotten rid of a lot of energies with the Crushing Hammers, and this actually is a great play here. Takes all of those out of play, and you put yourself in an excellent spot, I would say.
Yeah, it is really just the best option for Zach here, and is how he has set up his turn. There you have it. Lightning Ride GX takes the knockout on the only thing that is charged up on Renzo's side of the field. Switching into the Crobat, it's pretty safe. You have free retreat thanks to that air balloon. And even though Renzo has a giant hand, I think they are pretty much out of resources here. Yeah, 2 Metal Saucer done.
Yeah, 2 Metal Saucers down, so that means you have 2 remaining as Renzo. And there's a Lightning Energy drawn for Zach, another one as well. So it looks like there was a couple stuck in the prize cards there. Renzo's going to need a crazy hand here in order to make something happen.
All right, well, starting it off with Crushing Hammer, gets a Tails. That's not too crazy, but Metal Saucer number 1 needs to find a few more. Had both of them in hand.
Okay, good start, good start. Needs to find the energy to attach for turn, a switch card, and then also a Boss's Orders to pick up a KO here, but it is just going to have to be the Marnie, and that means that Renzo is still going to be 3 attacks away from winning the game.
Has he used the Great Catcher this game already?
Oh, I'm not sure, and that is definitely something to remember.
Oh,
that
but
could
no.
be a key thing. Yeah, just an Intrepid Sword here actually does not get to attack at all.
That is tough if you're a fan of Renzo, but I think Zach is sitting pretty good right here.
Can't quite close out the game this turn. It's like close, but just doesn't quite have enough cards to do it. And the only thing that Zach can attack with is this heavily damaged Mewtwo and Mew with a bunch of energies on it as well.
Yeah, important to note, it does not give your opponent the game if it gets knocked out. Renzo is sitting at 4 prizes here.
It looks like Zach maybe retreating here and still just going with the attack. There are 2 more lightning energies in the deck we have to remember, so we could just see the full blitz here to still power up either the Raichu and Raichu or even the Boltund V here.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be the Boltund just with Zach playing it down, but Ops no for the Raichu. So just these 2 tag team Pokemon left for Zach to really take the victory here and seal up this match. But Renzo's trying to claw back, has the switch.
Yep, switch will mean we can see the Brave Blade does pick up the 4 prize KO, and this is going to be close. Zach needs to find the pieces to win the game on this turn. Otherwise, you know, your opponent has a pretty sizable hand here. Well, Zach does have Reset Stamp, though, to reset that. But, I mean, it's going to be close. Down to the wire. 1 prize remaining for Renzo. 2 for Zach. There's a Speed Lightning Energy on the top deck. And there's the boss's orders.
Wow.
That's the game. Zach is able to boss's orders, bring up this Dedenne GX or this Crobat. Either one will work just fine. And Tandem Shock will pick up the KO. And Zach, winning 2-0 over Renzo, will move on to the Losers Finals, earning himself a spot there in the Losers Finals and also getting a invitation to a future international championship, which is an amazing